Hi, I would just like to thank you for joining me. Today, I am here with Matt Giffen, founder and president of Bench Brewery, a brewery located in the heart of Lincoln, Ontario. Bench Brewery isn't just your regular brewery. Matt and his team have built their brand with the focus of sustainability and community constantly in their heads. Every detail of the brewery and brand is well thought out, from the reconstruction of the historical Maple Grove School into the brewery and taps room it is today, all the way to the brewing of their beer, where extra measures have been installed to reduce their wastewater and spent grain waste. The outcome of their dedication and attention to detail has allowed them to create delicious, sustainable beers that make their customers fall in love from the first sip, and a culture of people just as passionate about Bench Brewery as the team itself. Without further ado, Mr. Matt Giffen.
Hey Lily, how are you? Thanks for having me on, and that was a very kind intro.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. So we'll just hop right in. So my first question for you is, I was just hoping you could do a little explanation of the wastewater system and process that's been developed at Bench Brewery.
Sure. And I guess I'll take a step back, and that being in a rural brewery, a farmhouse brewery, we're not connected to the region sanitation system. So there really never was an option for us to just kind of push stuff down the drain, for lack of a better term. We knew we wanted to have a solution, not just because we had to, but because we wanted to be a true farmhouse brewery, be sustainable, and be friendly to the environment. So the wastewater system that we have acts in two parts. We bifurcate the waste streams, so domestic waste from washrooms and kitchens, that goes out into a more traditional, what you would hear, a septic system. So it goes into what's called an aqua wetland system, which is really just a pond full of bacteria that acts as an aerobic digester, and acts as the flow meter, for lack of a better term. That pushes it up to, we have 3 chambers that then actually bring it through various levels of treatment and then into a septic bed. So that's just the wastewater from the kitchen and washrooms. Then the brewery effluent, it never ever commingles with that liquid, and it goes out in a separate exit into our water treatment facility, which is just at the end of just at the north side of our facility, and that consists of a barn, of which there are 4 30,000 liter tanks underneath the ground. First one acts as kind of a settling system, kind of lets some of the more big pieces of organic waste settle to the bottom. It then enters into the water barn, as we call it. And what we've done is, with our partners, Econs purification systems, cobbled together, multiple, but call it 3 main treatment tools. So if you've heard of ozone, UV, ultraviolet light, reverse osmosis, and through those tools we use, the water is actually treated, probably going through about 8 times, to where we bring it to a standard that the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture is comfortable with, and that we're comfortable with as farmers and using in our agriculture. And what that does is it puts it into the one tank on the one side of the barn, and that automatically then continues to feed out in the summer months to our hops for our irrigation. We have drip irrigation throughout the 3 acres of hops on site. But we brew 12 months a year, and crops don't need water 12 months a year. So we had to have a solution. So what we do in the winter months, we actually pipe that. It's about a kilometer-long pipe, believe it or not, about 4 feet under the ground, so it's below the frost line, to a retention pond at our adjacent farm, where we have 13 acres of apples. And that water waits for us until the spring. And then we use that for irrigating all those apples, as well as neighbors. We have 2 neighbors that are part of this NASM project, with non-agricultural source material. So we are then able to use that water to help them with their tender fruit as well. So in so doing, we were able to recycle about 4.4 million liters of water last year.
Awesome. That's so cool.
So sir, I could go on all day on that, so I'll stop. But yeah, it's something we're really proud of. And one thing also that I forgot is there's organic material that's left over from this treatment process.
Yeah.
And we're in a position now that we use that to spread on our fields as fertilizer.
Oh,
and
awesome.
it's very nutrient rich, and again approved by the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture. So that again is something that we're very proud of. And we knew out of the gate that we had to make the water the best it possibly could be before it got into this purification system. So we side stream all our hops, we side stream all our yeast, we take that out beforehand, and use that as an example. Our spent grains, we use that for we give that to a local farmer for feeding livestock. So that water is, if you can say that, the brewery effluent is as clean as it possibly can be before it gets into that system.
Awesome. So as the owner of Bench Brewery, what motivates you to push the accepted standard of wastewater in the brewing process?
Yeah, the average wastewater to beer ratio in the industry is somewhere between 5 and 10. Mm-hmm. And Sarah Casorso, our head brewer, has got us down to 4.39 because we do it to the actual the liter. And that was very important to us, again, in being as sustainable as we possibly could. Being in a rural area, being stewards of the land, we all understand, it doesn't need us to talk about that. Water is a precious resource. We all need it. We certainly need it for crops and farming. So we wanted to make sure that we only use what we need, and we want to need as little as possible in order to come to the same exact result. And that's kind of what we've done. And then wastewater to water coming in, we're zero, because ultimately there is no wastewater. We have a zero wastewater footprint each and every year.
That's amazing. So before officially opening Bench Brewery, you and your team took a road trip across Canada to really learn about and better connect with the inputs that go into your beers. I watched the little docu-series you put together. It was so cool. What was something you learned on this road trip that you really strive to implement into your brewery?
Thanks. Well, that was a lot of fun putting that one together, that's for sure. And well, I learned that we live in the best country in the world, that's for sure, full of just great people that were welcoming from beginning to end. If you notice on that one, we had a truck, a reefer, I guess they call it, because it's air conditioned. And we had, I think, 200 or 225 cases of beer that we actually took out with us, and we came back with none. So we shared a lot of beer with a lot of folks, and realized that that's really a big part of perhaps why we got into this business in the first place, and that's having discussions, meeting people and spending good times with friends and family while they're having beer. And we've tried to incorporate that and bring that into our taproom environment, which you're familiar with. Yeah. It's so important, to the accessibility. Beer should be for everyone that wants to actually try it. It's not, this craft. Oh, wow, I'm afraid of what that might be. It's about talking about it. I think also the thing we learned was we really care about the beer that we make. And we need to partner with farmers and artisans that care about the products that they make as they come into our beer. So you saw our meetings with our barley producers, our hops producers. That is so critical. Sarah goes out west every year, does what's called a hop rub to ensure that she's very comfortable with the hops that we're putting in. The quality is what we need. So yeah, I would say we certainly learned that. That was probably the most critical.
Awesome. So being located in the heart of Ontario's wine country, what were some adaptations you had to make to the brewery and its operations to benefit from the natural resources this area provides?
Well, I tell you, the first of the adaptation would be choosing the town of Lincoln, choosing the Niagara region as a place to build our brewery. We're spoiled for choice with the beautiful soil, the incredible microclimate for growing. Certainly all our neighbors surrounded by grapevines, vineyards, apple orchards, tender fruit, all things that we use in our beer. Knowing also that we were able to source wine barrels directly from our neighbors. We tended to just want the Twenty Valley wineries, albeit we love all the wineries in the region, but it just made sense for us from a microflora perspective that when we do our cool ship beer, where we're bringing airborne yeast to inoculate our beer, it's the same yeast that would be in the barrels that we're bringing in from our neighboring farms and vineyards. So yeah, we chose, and we chose it because it just was such an opportunity for us in the farmhouse style of brewing to be close to all these like-minded farmers and individuals.
Awesome. So not only does Bench place a heavy emphasis on the preservation of land and its natural resources, but there's also a really heavy focus on the community in which it operates in and preserving the history of this community. As the owner, why was it so important to have this community in this establishment?
Well, again, I firmly believe we won the lottery when we opened our doors to the brewery in the town of Lincoln, Beamsville, and the Niagara region. It's just such an incredible community, and visually, obviously, it is, but it's about the people who have supported us from the very beginning. The appreciation of artisanal approach and to craft, not just in beverages, but across the board. We have neighbors whose families have been there for over 200 years. The history in this area, it blows my mind, and I've enjoyed it from the very beginning. With Friends of Lincoln's Archives, they brought me under their wing and showed me all the interesting things that are around the area. And typically we think Niagara-on-the-Lake is where a lot of the history occurred, but it was actually in this area as well. So we're really we love it. We live and work in this community. It's so important to who we are. We enjoy partnering with other with our philanthropic partners such as Community Care West Niagara, Jillian's Place, Pathstone for mental health. We partner with Niagara College for scholarships, a BIPOC entrance scholarship, as well as a graduating student scholarship, and Out Niagara, our friends in Niagara. So yeah, it's important. It's who we are. It's something we've always focused on, and that's really our community, the environment, and our employees. Those are the three important, and then obviously our customers.
Awesome. So what was the biggest challenge you faced in creating and implementing a brew system that not only reduces wastewater in the brewing process, but then recycles and reuses this water towards the nourishment of our agriculture, hops, and the landscape of Bench?
It was important for us to get everybody on side. So that started with our neighbors. That started with, we have big aspirations in terms of volume. So is this system scalable? Is it modular so that we can actually increase as our volumes increase? We only have limited space. I know we're on 8 acres, but we've got 3 acres of hops. We've got all sorts of other things going on. So this had to be a very powerful purification system, but on a very small footprint. So that was pretty key. There weren't a lot of places that I could go to talk to people about systems that were similar to this.
Yeah.
There's only 1 or 2, but they're a lot larger in scale and cost than what we are. So we had to get creative, and I guess being in a farming community, that's what people do. They have problems, they solve them, and that's what we did. And we're really, really, really happy.
Awesome. So when you started to build the Bench brand and establishment, was sustainability a part of your original vision of the company, or was there a specific moment during the development when you realized the importance of these practices?
That's a great question. And I knew that we always wanted to be sustainable, i.e. we wanted to be a going concern for many years. That's important for a business starting up. But I think also in learning from the farming community, it's important to be stewards of the land, to not adversely affect the environment or the community because you're in it. And that was something that we really never wanted to do. In fact, we want to make it better from an environmental perspective. So we absolutely had no choice in order to purify the water on site. Actually, we did have a choice. We could have not. And we estimated there were 475 truckloads of wastewater that we would have had to truck to the local wastewater management plant, that's not environmentally friendly. So, we knew we had to based on where we were, but it was something that we've always wanted to do. We want to live that continually. And I think that it goes maybe into your next question, which I don't want to lead the witness, but in terms of, is it just water? No, it's more than that. It's going to be our entire environmental, our emissions footprint. We want to bring that down as little as, well, we're going to be carbon neutral. So that's
Awesome.
important for us. So yeah, that's been very important from the start.
Yay. Okay. So my last question is, are there any plans for the future on how Bench may change or improve its current sustainability efforts or implement new ones?
Well, yeah, great question. So yes, we've spent the last 6 months working with a company called Climate Smart out of Vancouver. And they've helped us through a lot of innovative tools that they have internally to create a baseline greenhouse gas inventory for Bench. So what is that annual output of emissions that we create by being there, by doing business that we do? So, you have your scope 1, so that's your energy, your refrigeration, your logistics. You've got scope 2 would be electricity. Then there's all sorts of, and then even employee commuting. There's all sorts of things. So we went through each and every emission stream to calculate exactly where baseline footprint was. So that our first full year in the brewery was 2019. So we actually looked back to 2019, and then we started saying, okay, what are our reduction targets? How are we going to reduce our emissions on an annual basis to a level that we're comfortable with, and a level that then allows us to perhaps look at offsets to bring us to that, in fact, that carbon neutral stance that we believe in. So yeah, we've cut emissions between 2020 and 2019 by just over 10%.
Awesome.
And we have a lot of views on as to how we can continue to do that. It's just been a great exercise, and we look forward to keep doing that in perpetuity.
Awesome. That's so cool. I would just like to thank you for joining me today. I learned a lot about the company, and I'm excited to return back in the summer, hopefully.
Well, it's a pleasure, and we're excited to have you back for sure. I look forward to it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Lily.
Well, have a great day, Matt.
Thanks, you too. Bye.